show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's September 6, 2021. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, coming to you from Atlanta Airport on the way back from the season opener against Alabama here in Atlanta, and joined as always by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day. And Matt, it's really hard to get our hands wrapped around what we saw on Saturday in Mercedes-Benz Stadium here, because nobody expected Miami to win that game, and they really came into the game with absolutely nothing to lose. But they played so tentatively, and you know, the word that I would use, and I'm seeing most people use, is scared. And it just was so opposite what the doctor ordered for a program that needed a shot in the arm, that had absolutely nothing to lose, no expectations in this game. All it had to do was go out there and let it rip, baby, and just, you know, be competitive and show some mettle, you know. And to me, the college football world would have been its oyster, because, you know, people want to love Miami again. They want to say the U is back. And you just don't get opportunities like that on national TV to start a season against the number one team in the country that's coming off winning the national title. I felt they blew it. I mean, they really blew it. And I think they're going to be swimming upstream now for the next several weeks to try to get some level of respect back that they lost on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, the disappointment to me, you know, I didn't think Miami was going to win, but I thought that they would at least have some bright moments, maybe be competitive for the first half to three quarters, you know, at least show they could be a functioning offense and and maybe a mid-level ACC defense. And they didn't do either. I mean, it was shocking to me that at least the offense couldn't get anything going. Like, I mean, you know, yeah, Alabama's got a really good defense, but, you know, this is year 2 of Lashley. The Miami offense was supposed to take a big step up. The O-line was the biggest disappointment to me. I really thought they'd be a much improved offensive line. If anything, they really got worse. I mean, DJ Scape, like, how did the guy get worse after all these years here? And you know, Garen Justice is a good coach. I don't understand how these guys aren't getting better. Zion Nelson's supposed to be a first-round left tackle. You know, I know he missed some time, but he didn't look like even a top 3 round tackle. You know, so like across the board on the offensive line, you know, Jalen Rivers graded out terribly. Like, that was to me the biggest disappointment was the offensive line. You know, just really just not being good. Because if they're not good this year, you know, this is going to be a rough season.
Well, you know, these games, they come and go so fast, and you know, you have an opportunity like that, and you know, we've spoken to recruits, we've spoken to fans. My phone did not stop from the middle of that game on Saturday all the way to now. People are upset. They feel hopeless about their support of the program. They feel hopeless about the prospects for the season. And I think it's important that people separate those things, because they're not all as interconnected as people might seem. Okay, in the big picture, yeah, you were smacked in the head that this program is nowhere close to the top teams in college football still, as it goes into year 3 of Manny Diaz. That is scary, because by year 3 you want to start seeing progress with a new coach. But you know, we've known from the beginning that Manny was challenged in this job. But that's one feeling that people have that I think is very legitimate, like a fear that Miami is not on that upwardly mobile path. And we heard the same thing from recruits who are very important recruits in the next cycle that Miami wants. And the way the team looked on Saturday really soured their feelings towards the Hurricanes, that I don't know if they'll get it back or not. But so you have the big picture feelings over here. Well, then there's this season feelings. And this was just game 1. This was a game that nobody expected Miami to win. So, you know, 0-1 coming out of the Alabama game, you knew that was going to happen. The chances of that not happening were absolutely minuscule. Okay, so like, I think that from the standpoint of this season, with the road ahead, the very manageable schedule, the ACC Coastal looking totally balanced, quite frankly. I mean, you know, you had Virginia Tech rise up and beat North Carolina on opening day. but Miami's going to have a chance to win every game it plays this season. And we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know where it's going. But it's certainly not cause to sound a major alarm right now, Matt, with 11 games still left on the schedule.
Yeah, I mean, the tendency is to overreact. I mean, that's how fans are. They want their team to look good. They don't want to be embarrassed. They don't want to spend $1,000 on a weekend trip to Atlanta and leave in the third quarter. I mean, who wants to do that? That's why there's a lot of anger out there right now. I get it. But you're right. I mean, I don't look, this is interesting to me. I don't, they keep their team goals to themselves. They don't like to publicize them. But their number one team goal this year very well may have been win the ACC Coastal and not win the national championship. So, if that's the case, I mean, how do you sell to your players, we have to beat Alabama, we have to compete with Alabama, we can beat Alabama, when really the ultimate goal is to win the Coastal, which is my guess is that was what their number one goal is. So, they certainly didn't show up looking like they were interested in playing. They certainly didn't show up with a game plan that looked like they were saying, hey, let's show our opponents in the future a lot by doing a lot of different stuff against Alabama. It was a very straightforward game plan. It almost seemed like they went into this game like, we're going to lose. Let's try to win the Coastal and not show our upcoming opponents, some of the stuff we can get done, and let's not get De'Ara King hurt in this game. That's how I saw them playing. I don't know if that's what happened, but that's my perception of what I saw.
It started with the opening kickoff, and Miami won the toss and had a choice to make. And the conventional decision in that situation is you defer to the second half. You get the ball first in the second half. I thought this situation called for a different idea. You're playing Alabama. You've been blown out in the first quarter of every single game you've played against a quality team last year. The stats are ugly. I'm not going to recite the numbers. You probably know them already. They're the ugliest numbers you've ever seen in your life. So you've been a slow starting team. You've gotten blown out early in games against good teams. You feel like your offense has gone through fall camp, passing the ball up and down the field against your defense, lighting it up every scrimmage. That's the strength of your team. If you're looking at your team honestly, the offense is the strength of the team. Why not take the ball and try to put points on the board coming out of the gate and get yourself on the right side of things early and maybe put a little pressure on Alabama? Instead, they went the conventional route. They gave Alabama the ball first. Alabama goes right up the field, scores a touchdown, and now you're down 7-0. Okay. So then they kicked the ball, and I believe this was the kickoff that was just on the other side of the goal line. And clearly, Mike Harley and the returners are coached that if the ball's in the end zone, you fair catch it, we take the ball at the 25. Okay, great. But again, you're in an opening game. Teams are never at their best on special teams and openers. You got Mike Harley back there, one of your more seasoned speed guys. Why not take a shot? What do you have to lose? Try to run the ball out. You're right at the goal line. It's not like you're 5-6 yards deep. Obviously, you were down that. You're right at the goal line. Run the ball out, take a shot, and see what you can do. Then they go on offense, and they get into a 3rd and 7 situation. They hit a couple passes early for 7 yards to Rambo, 7 yards to Mallory. Zion Nelson gets a penalty. They have 3rd and 7. Okay. Again, your offensive passing game has been brilliant all throughout fall camp. You have receivers falling all over each other because they've played so well to get into the lineup. It's why Rhett Lashley chose to run it in that situation and thought that he's going to pick up 7 yards against the Alabama defense in that situation. I don't know, but it was so flawed, Matt, in my opinion. And now you're punting, and then they come down and score a field goal. Now you're down 10-0. And it just kept going and going and going. And before they knew it, by early in the second quarter, they're down 27-0. And, it's over at that point. And, the whole opportunity of playing Alabama was blown. So tying that into what's on the website this morning, if you didn't get a chance to read my column after the game, it's still up. It's still up on the site. Go look it up. I talk about how this passiveness that Miami played with Saturday really, really, really destroyed any hopes they had of being competitive in that game. And it just destroyed all hopes they had of being competitive in that game. And they better change that going forward. I mean, they absolutely have to become an aggressive football team. They're not good enough to sit back and play conservative and just think that these victories are just going to happen for them. No, you got to go out and get them, Matt. And that's what I walked out of that stadium with Saturday night.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just add to what you said. I mean, they completely, as coaches, misunderstood their own team. They thought that their strength was their defense against an Alabama offense replacing a lot of guys, instead of realizing that the Alabama defense, is going to present a lot of challenges for their. I mean, they knew the Alabama defense would create problems for their offense, but they misunderstood also that their offensive line would not hold up whatsoever. So when they took when they decided they were going to go on defense first, they thought, oh, new quarterback, we'll get them out real early, we'll go on a roll, we'll get good field position, we'll stop them, whatever. Obviously, that was a bad call. And then, the things they were doing on offense, like I said, they're just super basic, but it was, again, either they didn't want to show future opponents something and they didn't care about this game, which I find hard to believe, but that's what it looked like, or, again, they misjudged and thought their offensive line was so good that they could just power through the Alabama defensive front seven, with a few new defensive, the defensive line was maybe the one suspect area on that defense. Linebackers were outstanding, secondaries outstanding. Maybe they thought that was their advantage. Run the ball on 3rd and 7 against a bad D line. I don't know. It doesn't make any sense, that call, but it sure looked like they thought their advantages were on defense and on the offensive line, and those were the two worst areas. So if the coaches honestly thought those were the strengths of the team, I'm scared for what's ahead. I don't understand what they were doing out there at all in some of these instances. I really don't, the things you pointed to.
All right, so Sunday was a dark day, and this morning there'll be a stream of media opportunities for some of these questions to get asked of Manny Diaz.
In the afternoon.
Yep, and then, we should also talk to Rhett Lashley, I believe, today as well, and get some explanations from him as to why, maybe his play calling was a little conservative. He was 50-50 run pass in that game. I can't imagine that they really thought they were going to have that level of success running the ball against Bama's front seven. But I want to hear what he says about it, and I'm looking forward to that. I think we have Appalachian State's coach talking today. We've got so a lot going on that we'll have coming onto the website. I'm also going to try to dive into the film today and just, slow it all down and just go play by play and try to get a feel who really was playing poorly, who really was playing well. And I'll try to have that analysis to you guys soon, because I know you'll probably anxious about that. So, we'll add that to the equation here, hopefully by the end of the day today. And just move forward, I guess, to Appalachian State. We'll have CaneSport Live Tuesday night at 8. The Lamar Thomas Show Wednesday at 8 also. And I'm sure we'll slice and dice all of this up. A couple other things on the website, a couple recruiting stories this morning. One, a little bit upsetting, but we ran it because he's such a key recruit, and that's Mark Fletcher, the running back from American Heritage. He had some concerns coming out of that game and the way Miami's offensive line got manhandled and the way that the team looked in general. So Miami's going to have some ground to make up with Mark Fletcher. Now, Alabama's another team recruiting them. So, obviously, that wasn't great. And also a story on a Michigan State commit who's considering the Hurricanes now as well. In addition, spent the whole day Sunday answering questions from the fans. There's 10, 11, 12 pages of them. Obviously, a lot on everybody's mind. I think if you haven't read that yet, that you'll enjoy diving into that content item on our site as well. So, Matt, turn the page, move forward to Appalachian State. I'm sure we'll be talking about a lot of this more as the week goes on. But it's a difficult thing to reconcile for the Canes fan. No question about it. You try to be open-minded entering the season. You want to feel things are going to be better. That and on opening night there was just very little hope. And my instinct is that things are not as bad as they seem, the way that it looked on Saturday. But the Hurricanes are going to have to prove that. And that begins on Saturday, Matt, against Appalachian State. Your final thoughts?
Yeah, they have to beat Appalachian State, period. I mean, if they don't win this game and win this game convincingly, I mean, it's not going to be fun to be in Coral Gables on that football team.
All right, so for Matt Shodell, I'm Gary Ferman. We'll be coming at you all week as we move towards Appalachian State, but also continue to try to understand what happened at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Saturday. So have a good day, and we'll see you next time, everybody.